We're always told that building muscle is a super complicated thing, right? Like you need these perfect diets and just brutal workouts. But what if the whole fitness world has been making it way harder than it needs to be? In this explainer, we're going to cut right through all that noise and show you why getting jacked is, well, actually, surprisingly simple.
Yeah, you heard me right. Getting jacked, getting ripped, shredded, whatever you want to call it, it's all built on a really simple foundation. Now, I know that might sound a little crazy, but stick with me here, and I promise you'll see why this isn't just hype. But hang on. Before we get into the how, we gotta talk about the why. I mean, if it's so straightforward, why does it feel like everyone and their dog is suddenly obsessed with working out? It's almost like getting in shape has gone from being a cool personal goal to some kind of modern requirement. So, what's really going on here?
So let's dive into that. What's the real reason behind this big cultural push towards the gym? Turns out, it's often way less about just looking good and a lot more about finding some sense of control in a world that feels, well, pretty out of control.
I mean, think about it from this kind of cynical, but let's be honest, pretty relatable point of view. When all the traditional life goals, like buying a house or even just making new friends as an adult, feel impossible, people start looking for something, anything, where they can actually see progress. And for a lot of us, the gym becomes that place. And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? When everything else feels uncertain, building your body is a clear, measurable goal that you have direct control over. It's a way to look in the mirror and see physical proof that your hard work is paying off. And that's a powerful feeling you might not be getting anywhere else.
Okay, so you're feeling motivated. Awesome. But what should you actually expect? This next part is so important because it's all about setting a realistic timeline. Trust me, understanding the journey is the key to not quitting after a month. So let's just break it down. After about 6 months of sticking with it, you'll see a real noticeable difference. By the 1 year mark, other people are going to notice too. You'll have that look, the, oh, you work out look. Now that 2 to 3 year mark, that's when you start looking like those genuinely muscular people you see walking around. But after that, things slow way down. The big takeaway here, the most dramatic changes happen right at the beginning. And you can really split the whole thing into two major phases. First up, you've got newbie gains. This is the magic window. Your first year or two, honestly, you almost can't mess this up. As long as you're showing up and trying, you are going to build muscle. But then you graduate to the maybe gains phase. And this is where progress asks for a little more from you. You actually have to track things, dial in your diet, and really try not to skip days. The coasting phase is over. So if the beginning is easy and later on gets tougher, what's the one thing that matters most through the entire journey? Well, that brings us to the absolute core idea of this whole explainer. The secret sauce, if you will. And here it is. This is the whole thing. Working out consistently is so much more important than working out optimally. Seriously, forget the perfect routine or the optimal time to drink a protein shake. None of that matters if you don't actually show up. A pretty good plan that you stick to is always going to beat a perfect plan that you give up on. And the cool thing about consistency is that it kind of teaches you as you go. Once you're in the habit, you naturally start getting curious. You'll think, how can I lift a little more? And boom, you'll stumble on progressive overload. Just the idea of adding a little more weight or a few more reps over time. You'll start looking up diet tips. You don't need to know everything on day one. Just being consistent is what drives you to learn. This idea is so freeing. We all have a genetic limit on how much muscle we can build. So whether you use a super optimal plan and get there in 4 years or a good enough consistent plan and get there in 6, you're ending up at the same place. This obsession with getting there as fast as possible is exactly what causes people to burn out and quit. So what's the bare minimum you need to do to actually see results? Well, the science points to this number right here, 4. That's it. This is what you might call the minimum effective dose. Just 4 hard sets for each muscle group every week is enough to get you growing. And a hard set is just one where you're pushing yourself, where those last couple of reps are a real grind. 4 of those a week, that's so much more doable than people think.
And that whole idea of a minimum dose leads right into this, the law of diminishing returns. So look at this chart. Doing about 10 hard sets a week gets you something like 80% of your possible gains. That's huge. But look what happens if you double the work to 20 sets. You only squeeze out an extra 15%. For most of us, doubling the time, the effort, and the recovery needed just isn't worth that little extra bit.
And focusing on what's sustainable helps you avoid the number one thing that kills progress, this cycle.
People chase that extra 15%, they go way too hard, they burn out, and they stop for a month. All their progress disappears. Then they spend the next month just trying to get back to where they were. It's like running on a treadmill and going nowhere. Consistency is what breaks you out of that trap. All right, so let's get practical. It's time for a rapid fire round. We're going to tackle some of the most common questions beginners have, and we're going to give you simple, no-fluff answers. Let's do it.
Okay, this has to be the most overanalyzed question in the history of fitness. Everybody wants to know the secret, perfect weekly schedule.
And the simple, honest-to-God answer? Don't overthink it. Seriously, when you're just starting, the best split is the one that gets you in the door and moving. Just use whatever equipment is free and get a workout in. That's it. You can optimize later.
Okay, next up. What about body weight training? Can you actually get jacked without touching a single weight?
Absolutely. Your muscles don't know the difference between a dumbbell and your own body weight. Resistance is resistance. The main challenge, though, is making it harder over time, right? It's super easy to add 5 pounds to a barbell. It's a lot trickier to make a push-up, just a little bit harder. So yes, it works, but you gotta get creative to keep the progress coming. Ah, the classic. That deep muscle soreness after your first few workouts. You know the feeling, where just walking down a flight of stairs feels like a major life decision. Everyone wants to know, when does that stop? And what do you know? The answer comes right back to our big theme, consistency. Just keep showing up. After a few weeks, your body gets used to it. And yeah, you'll still get a good kind of sore every now and then, but that debilitating, I can't move pain, that becomes a thing of the past. Think of it as a one-time initiation fee.
And you know, let's wrap up with this idea. We've been talking a lot about building muscle, but this quote, even though it sounds like a classic gym bro, points to a much deeper truth. The real win here isn't just about how you look. It's the lifelong health benefits, man. We're talking stronger bones, better blood sugar control, stuff that will literally serve you for the rest of your life.
And that really brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. If you can change your mindset and see working out not as some 12-week project, but as a lifelong practice you do for your health, all that pressure to be perfect just melts away. Because if this is something you're going to do forever, what's the rush?